Hello everyone, welcome to a new tutorial presented by the SA Charles BB. In this tutorial, we're going to see plotting vectors. How to plot vectors. So, for us to plot vectors, we need to know that we are going to use a certain word, which is always a certain command in gnuplot, which is set arrow. Now we can either set the arrow from here, so we can set arrow as such. When we set arrow, this is how the way to set a simple way to set arrow. We set arrow, we write the number of the arrow. Let's say I want that it should be arrow 1. After saying I say arrow 1, that's the number of the arrow, the first arrow I want to set. So I say arrow 1. I say from the position, I want to start from position 0, 0, so it's going to start from x0 y0 to is going to end at, let's say 3 3. So this is the position I'm going to have. So this is one way, or the command line way of setting the arrow. Now another way again to set the arrow, you can just come on this your chart, you then come here, you say add arrow, right? Add arrow here. When you add arrow, this is tagging. Tag here represent the name of the arrow. Let's say I still want that it should be arrow 1. So I have arrow. Let's say I insert 1 now, in this case should be arrow 2. I'll place arrow 2. Now from coordinate, so from this is from 0 0. Now I insert 1, it should start from 0 0. Press OK. Now to coordinate, I want that it should go down to negative 3 and negative 3. Comma. It's always good to place a comma. You place negative 3, so there's different coordinate. So these are the two arrows I've set, one with the command line method and other one with the windows. So these are the arrows which I've set. You can see these arrows in your graph. In order for you to see these arrows on your graph, I've initially told you that when you want to start to plot something on gnuplot, it's always good to plot a graph starting with naming the x range. So when you name the x range you are going to say is going to include, you see that the arrows here start from 0 to 3 3. So I want that the x range include 0, the x point here is 0 and the x point here is 3, the x point here is 0 and the x point here is negative 3. So I want that it include all. So I will say from negative 10, so and end to 10. So negative 10 10 will include all these points in the x domain. So I press enter. I'll still want to set the y-axis. The y-axis is also going to include all these points in the y domain 0 3 0 negative 3. They're going to be included. So when I set them, I can now plot. Now when you plot, always have to place a domain in which you are plotting. I want to place from negative 10 to 10. So this is a domain in which I'm plotting, and then I want to plot now x squared. So you have this. So this is what you are going to have here. You see that x is going to start from here, y is going to, this is the first arrow here, this is the second arrow here. So let's say I don't want to plot x squared because x squared is come back onto our plot. I want to plot instead 1, or I will plot 5, so that 5 is above. So you have this. So let's say a new plot you have is all of them are starting from point 0 0. This one is going to this axis and this one is going to this axis. These are two different vectors. Now let's come again. I want to place now the 0 axis as you've seen initially. So I'll just write set 0 axis. Set 0 axis. Now when I set the 0 axis, I will show again 0 axis. I show 0 axis not because I want to see the 0 axis, but I want to see the properties to modify the 0 axis. So when I show 0 axis, you have this property and you have this property. So I'm going to say now set the 0 axis. Set 0 axis. Now I'm going to place this LT0 and all that. Copy. Then I come here, I paste here. LT0. When I have this, and then I modify this one here and I place 1 instead, in order for also have a bold mark. So I'll then press this, and then I'll still have to plot our 5. to visualize the figure. So plot this, plot 5. So we have now this figure. So start from X point here. This one start from here, it goes here. This one start from here, it goes here. So you can still try to modify now the color of the arrows, because the color of the arrow is the same, is similar to this color of the X and the Y axis. So I now want to modify the color of the arrows. So how do I modify the color of the arrows? So what I will do now to modify the color of the arrows, I will now have to go to write show arrow. So when I write show arrow, I'm going to see indirectly the property of arrow. So I write show arrow. Here it shows me arrowhead not filled, line this from this is from the coordinate I've placed to this coordinate. So now you see line with dash this, you have arrow 1. So this is the property. The property is starting from this one. So you have line with this and you have dashed solid. So let's say I now want to set arrow 1. I'll have to set arrow 1 now with a new property that I'm going to copy here. I'll copy here to this clipboard, and then I'll come and paste here. When I paste here, I can change this property here in order to see what is going to happen. So I change it to 2, or I change it to 3 to be further. So I enter, and then I come and I plot. So now you see that this arrow is much more bold. So when I change the arrow length, now you see that this one is different now from this other vector. So I can just put it, it's too bold, so I can just put it to 2. And then I come and I do that. The similar, I do the other one instead with dash type. You see that now you need to know that this dash type here are the different styles you are writing your arrow. So we are going to see that in the next tutorial. The styles, different styles which are involved in our functions. Now in order for you to see the styles, you need only to come here and you see that here there is arrow style, they show arrow style, and there's all that. We are going to see that in our next tutorial. So we have the set arrow. We are going to set the other arrow. Set arrow 2 instead. So this is set arrow 1. Now we are going to set arrow 2 we have initially declared now to number 3 instead. We are going to set with 3. This one 3. So we do this, and then we still plot our graph. So we have this one, it has a bigger bold, and this one has a smaller bold. Now let's say now we want now to label this arrow and want to label this arrow here. So how do we label? In order to label, you just come on chart and then you come here at label. This is at label here. So you write at label, you press at label, tag. What do you want to label? Do I want to label arrow 1 or I want to label arrow 2? In this case, I first want to label arrow 1. You say 1, write 1. Now label, what do you want to label on it? I want to label, let's say I want to say u vector. So this is, I say, let's say displacement. This one is displacement. I want to label it displacement. I just press it. Coordinate. Now these are the coordinates where I want to label. You see that if you just label, you see that these are the coordinates. These are the coordinates we've initialized for the R1. So from 0 0 this to this point. So this coordinate of the labeling should be very close to this coordinate. So let's start by first labeling in 0 0 coordinate and see what's going to happen. So justification, you just write something. So let's say we have labeled this. So we have labeled at the location 0 0. We come back and you see that displacement is written down here. So it is not very nice and precise to the eye. So in order to label displacement very well, let's say we want to label displacement at this location here. In order to do that, we need to see the location on the x-axis. You see that it is somewhere by 3, and on the y-axis is going to be somewhere by 3 2. So 3 3. So we come here and we set label now instead 3 3. 3 comma 3, and then we still plot our same graph. Now we see that displacement is in that at that location. We have named the displacement vector. Let's say now we want to name this other vector. We only say set label. Now instead, in this case, it is label 2. So because arrow 2, and then you see right now it's no more displacement. I want to write now instead velocity. So write velocity here. When you write velocity, you come here now, you write here it will be -3, -3. So I'll write -3 at location -3, and here I'll write -3 in order for it to be located downward. So when I do that, I press enter, and then I plot my same graph. You see that velocity is here, but it is shaded with this bold, so I need to shift it slightly downward. So what I'm going to shift, I'm going to now go to this plot on the y-axis. We'll shift it downward to -4. So you have this, and then go and plot the same graph. Have this velocity downward. So it's shifted a little bit too downward. In order to reduce it, I'm going to put instead 0.5 here, 0.5 and 0.5 on each side. So I'll do the -3.5, and then I'll do -4.5 as well. And then I'll plot again my same graph. No, 4.5 is too far, so I'll instead come here and write 2.5 and 3.5 here, and then I plot my same graph. So you have this, so it is slightly closer to each side. So you can still do again a small modification. This is the last one. I'll still write here -3 instead, and I plot my graph. So you have this. This is the final modification of your graph. So you have two vectors. You have the displacement vector, and you have the velocity vector. These are the two vectors that you can write here. Now let's say again, this is how, and this is a line 5 here. You can modify and place the key outward as you want. Now you see again that you can change the direction of this vector if you want now that this vector should be the x0 and the y0. I want now that this vector should be x0 and y0, because we realize that we cannot name the x-axis, this y-axis and this x-axis cannot be named by just using set 0 axis. So we are going to use vectors in order to place it here and here. So let's see how to do it. So we first start by unsetting the 0 axis. So when we unset the 0 axis, we come to our plot, you see the 0 axis is no more found there. So now when we unset the 0 axis, we now come again, we set arrow. Now in this case, I'm going to call it arrow 4. Going to be, we have arrow 1, we have arrow 2. In this case, I have arrow 3. Set arrow 3 from, we say that if you want our x-axis to be moving, let's say we come back on our graph, we want our x-axis to start from -10 and it ends at 10. So I'm going to set the arrow from -10 to 10. Now from, I'll write here -10, 10. So when I write -10, 10, so from -10, so I start, it will start. So you have to come back again on this graph. It's a y-axis. Let's say, so it will start, this is the y-axis, so I'm going to start from 0, it's going to be 0 here to -10. So it starts from -10 and then it ends to 0 and 10. So I've set this arrow. So when I set this arrow, I enter, and then I go on my graph and see what has happened. So now you see that the x-axis has been, the y-axis has been shown here with this arrow. Now I can do that similar with the x-axis. Set arrow, I have arrow instead 4 now. From now instead -10, I place 0 to 10, comma 0. Now I want to, this is going to place the x-axis. So you see that when I do this, I come on my graph, I've placed my x-axis. So these are the two lines. Now I can decide now to place this, I can decide to place a name here and a name here easily compared to when I use the 0 axis. So when I place a name, I'll just go again, I'll say set label. So I'm going to use set, this same word here, set label. In this case, I'm going to use instead set label label 3. I want to name the y-axis. I'll name it as y-axis. So y-axis. So I'll name it as y-axis. Now the coordinate of the y-axis naming. So you see that when I come again on my graph, you see that the coordinate will be, I want that should be outside, should be at 10 this position here, and it should be at -1. So on this side, or negative 0.5. So I'll come here, I'll label it at 10. No, it's not at -10, but at 10, and at -0.5 as such. So when I set label 3 as such, I come on my graph. So this y-axis is at this position because of an error. It's not supposed to be on the other side. So I'm going to change it, set, and I place instead -0.5 here, -0.5, and then I place 10 here, 10. So I come back on my graph, you see this. So you see the y-axis at this location, -0.5 and 10 here. So now, in order for me to see very well the y-axis, I can decide to remove the box. You can also decide to remove the box. In order for you to remove the box, you can come on chart, and then you see remove arrow, this, remove title, okay. So you instead come on general. When you come on general, you come and write border off. You come on general, go border off in order for you to remove the box. Right there, show border. This is the border that's going to be formed, and then general, I want to show right border off. You said only write unset border. When you write unset border as such, you see that the border has been removed and your y-axis can be seen. But I just want to set the border. This is another way of doing. So set border, you have this. Now when you set the border, I will still change the position again of my name y-axis. Change position. I will shift it again here by -1 and shift it slightly here. So I'm going to place it at position of -1 here, -1, and I'll place it at the position of inside here 9.5. So when I do this, I come back on my graph, you have y-axis written here. So I want to shift again, I will shift it at -9.8. So I do this, I press it. So -9.8 has not changed. I'll come again on level 3, I'll place -10. I'll place just 10 instead. No, 9.8 has shifted it slightly, so I'll place it instead. So it's -9.5. 9.5 is correct, and then I do here with dot, and I place 3 here. So I come here on this graph. You see now the y-axis is well placed. Now place the x-axis here. In order to place x-axis, I'll place it at somewhere at 9.8 on the x-axis, and on the y-axis I'll place it somewhere at -1. So I'll set instead the label. That label now is instead for arrow 4. So I'll instead call it the x-axis, and then I'll come and I'll place it at the position of x. The position of x is on this graph that I'm going to place it will be 9.8 or 9.5, and the position of y is -1. So I'm going to say in this case 9.5, and I'll place here -1 on the y. I do this, then I come back on my graph, you have this here. So I'll insert shift again now to -9. So to shift to -9, I'll just come here and I remove all this and I press. So now you have your x-axis written. So you have the arrows here, you have the x-axis and you have the y-axis. So when you want to name your different axes here, you can now use the word arrow. So let's change a bit the plot. Now in this case, we want to plot this curve. I'll instead plot x squared. So the plot x squared now is going to be this one. See, the plot now is much more beautiful. This is what we see in mathematics. We use the displacement vector here, the velocity vector here. We can also decide to change the name of the key depending on when you see the last tutorials. So from here, we've seen the main things which are involved in plotting. So these are the main things which are involved in plotting, and I hope you are going to visualize this and study it very well for you to become a perfect graph maker with computers. Thanks for your kind attention, and don't forget to like and subscribe for Science Video Maker channel. Thank you.